Hey, earlier today I uploaded a video about piracy that was mainly just a rant about my position on this blossoming debate that's unfolding every day about piracy, as well as me talking about the nincompoops at Nintendo shutting down one of the most popular emulators, Yuzu. And it was just this very passionate rant. So passionate, in fact, that some of you may have noticed something a bit awry. In the intro of that video, I said there was two topics I wanted to discuss, and only one of them was piracy. Just like Parmesan and a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs, I got too lost in the sauce and I only talked about piracy in that video. I completely omitted the second half of what I wanted to discuss, and it wasn't until after the video went live that I had that eureka, come to Jesus moment. Gee willikers, I completely forgot the second half of that. Scratching at the hairs on my chinny chin chin, I sat here stewing in my own filth and ultimately decided, fuck it, we'll do it live and I'll just make a dedicated video for this second topic, which is great shows ruining their own momentum by taking these long mid-season breaks where they stagger their release and absolutely butcher all the hype they built up. Invincible is the latest victim of this, but it's not exclusive to just Invincible. As all of you know, I'm a huge fan of this show. I thought the first season was a damn near masterpiece. And Season 2, Part 1, I really liked. And as you know, there was a break. The fourth episode of Season 2 ended in November of 2023, and now Part 2 just started yesterday. So there's this long gap in between that where all of the hype just peters out like a little wet fart and people forget about it because things don't stay in the public consciousness for very long. And when you end it in the middle of something, people usually don't let it like hang there for that long. So many people didn't even know that the second part was rolling around, which includes me. I didn't know until I saw a couple people I follow on Twitter mention that they were surprised it's back because they forgot. It just doesn't make sense, this trend of stopping in the middle of shit. Like, take for example, you're on the most exciting roller coaster ride ever. You're on the Mummy ride at Universal. You're pumping your fist. Yeah, Brendan Fraser. Yeah, fuck you, Emotep. Boo. And then in the middle of the ride, it just stops. It breaks down. You're having a great time, it stops. And then you just have to wait for it to get back on track and you finish the ride, and it just doesn't feel as satisfying because it's been broken up now. So when I first read about the hiatus that Season 2 was going to be taking, I didn't mind that much because I thought it was some kind of production necessity where something went wrong along the way and they had to take the break. And I think that's excusable in that circumstance, but that's apparently not the case. Robert Kirkman gave a pretentious goober answer for the hiatus, saying fans will need time to process what happened when it's all said and done, which I think is ridiculous. You think people have just been sitting here processing it for the last fucking 5 months? Absolutely not. People forgot about it because it didn't finish, and a lot of people don't even know that it's back. So he said it's a little bit of a production process just because ramping things up has taken a lot longer than they thought, but also this is something we've done with every season of The Walking Dead, which is not a great thing to pull from since the majority of people dropped The Walking Dead along the way. It's a show that very much overstayed its welcome for the majority of the audience, and if there's any lesson you're ever going to learn from The Walking Dead, it's to do things differently than The Walking Dead did it, because it's an example of falling off and being a victim of their own hubris by doing things poorly, by drawing things out, and by making the audience get tired of it. So he continues, I think narratively it's kind of cool to have that pause to digest what you've experienced. And when you see episode 4 of season 2, you may need a break. It's a big episode. It's definitely a mid-season finale kind of episode. And then he goes on, with everything going on in that time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and a lot of family time, I think a lot of shows get lost in the shuffle there, so I think it's a good time to take a pause, and narratively it's going to make things hit a little bit harder, and people will know what I'm talking about when the season launches. Put down the orb of confusion, Robert. That is not how reality works. It's not going to make anything hit harder, it takes the impact away from it, because now you've had all this buildup for nothing, and now there's 5 months of stagnation. This break does nothing but take the wind out of the sails, and you can see that by the response right now to Part 2 dropping. The new episode is a banger, but there's a lot of people that don't even know the new episode is out because they've forgotten about it because of that break. It's just silly. And there's so many examples of this now because one of the most criminal release schedules ever was for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, which is Part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is a masterclass in how to completely ruin hype. So Stone Ocean is beloved, and it's one I was really excited for. There was so much hype around it, and then it turns out they were breaking this up into 3 waves. So the first bit of drip feeding for the first part of Stone Ocean was in December of 2021, and people really enjoyed it. People were celebrating its release, but everyone was understandably disappointed that this wasn't the full package. They had to wait for the next part to roll around with no set release date. And then it turns out that second part doesn't even come around until September 1st of 2022, almost a year later. So that by that point, everyone's already forgotten about it. They've already completely moved on from it. So then there wasn't nearly as many people turning up to finish Stone Ocean. And I'm in that anime clubhouse here because at that point it just becomes homework where I need to rewatch the first part of Stone Ocean so I can experience the second part, which should have just been done together. Just wait until everything's complete, like content complete, and then just do it like a normal season. Like that's the sensible way of doing it, or since it's Netflix and they usually do the binge model, just drop it all at once so I can go at my own pace through it without needing to take this year-long break in there where I just fucking get all foggy on the details of things. And to add insult to injury, that second part that came out in September still wasn't the end. They had to come back for a third release of Stone Ocean in December of that year. So there was another gap. Luckily, that wasn't as long, but still, the damage had been done, and so many people had already dropped it by that point and didn't finish Stone Ocean. I imagine if I asked for a show of hands who appreciates a break in the middle of something they're enjoying, there'd be no hands that fly up. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, who's gonna be watching Invincible during, like, a crucial moment and be like, whoa, stop, pump the brakes, Buster, wait a minute. I'm gonna need a few months to process what's going on here. Stop, I'm having too much fun. Please, stop, I need it to stop for now. Oh, what a ride, what an adventure. I can't wait to finish this. 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line. That's the optimal way of experiencing it. It just ruins the fun. No one wants to be doing something, having a great time, smile on their face, just for it to stop in the middle of it before it finishes. Like, you're jerking off and you don't want to just stop before you come, right? Well, I mean, I guess you could if you're, like, really into edging, I guess, but that's a small number of people compared to, like, the grand scheme of masturbatory practices. Point I'm making is, like, if you're in the middle of something and enjoying it, having it stop before it's done isn't satisfying, it's underwhelming. There's just nothing to really be gained with that. You're better off just waiting until everything is ready so you can avoid having these long pauses, this long hiatus in there, because again, all it does is fall out of people's attention, and it becomes kind of a nuisance where, damn, I was really enjoying that, now I have to wait 4 months just for it to pick up in the middle of where this story was. It's not like the season ended and you're just impatient waiting for season 3. This is season 2 that they split up into 2 parts for no real reason. At least not from how Robert Kirkman explains it. Maybe there was more to the production side, like they wanted to polish it off more, but even then, just wait till it's all ready then in that case. Don't bother releasing it in 2 parts. That was another thing Attack on Titan did that I didn't really like, and I talked about that a lot. I hated how Attack on Titan kept doing, like, final part 1 of part 2, but here's the final parts, part 1, 2, and 3, and then part 1, 2, and 2 of part 2 and 1 and 3. Like, you're doing all kinds of weird fucking arithmetic with these parts that make no sense. Just wait until things are complete and make, like, normal comprehensible seasons without, like, breaks in between and, like, final parts and then the final chapters parts and all that. Like, parts is becoming, like, this crazy buzzword that's associated for everything, where everything's, like, broken up into little parts. So yeah, that just made me a little frustrated. Hopefully this trend doesn't continue with more shows down the line, because, man, it's a fucking headache. That's about it. So yeah.